So it's November 23rd and I just read the first chapter of Midnight Sun. About this because I was real excited when it came out in August, but I just kept pushing it off. But then I was at the bookstore the other day and I was like, you know what, we're gonna get it. So I got it, and I just read the first chapter, and oh my god, it was really long. First of all, I was like, oh my god, I kept flipping a page and I was like, oh okay, so one more page and then I'll be done, and then I'd flip and it was more, and I was like, oh my god. Anyway, it is interesting. It's been almost 6 years, literally I think in January it'll be 6 years since I read the original quartet, but the writing doesn't seem all that great, I'm not gonna lie. So we'll see. I mean, we will see. I do tend to like Stephanie Meyer's writing. I've read all of these, and then I've also read The Host. So I just haven't read The Chemist by her, and then obviously this one, but this one will be read this week. But yeah, either way I'm excited because I am Twilight trash and I do not mind admitting that. Ooh, maybe I'll watch the movie after this. It'll be my 10th time watching the movie this year, but I do it every year, so I don't care. Also just realized I never actually gave any thoughts on chapter 1. It was good. It was pretty much, it was I was reading it, basically just picturing the movie, because I've only read the series once, but I've seen the movie 6 gajillion times. So I obviously have a clearer memory of the movie. So I'm remembering what's going on in the movie, and that's how I'm going through this book right now. But then I was reading it, and while I was reading I was like, oh wait, no, this is Edward's perspective, which means that scene's not gonna be there, stuff like that. Or it's gonna be oh, we're gonna, I was reading it and I was remembering ahead on oh, he's gonna be gone for a couple weeks. And I was like, oh wait, because it's Edward's perspective, we're actually gonna see him gone for a couple weeks. We're gonna see what he's doing or anything like that. So I am excited about that, but it's just constant reminding myself of oh wait, this is Edward's perspective, which means there are a bunch of things that were mentioned in Twilight that we're actually gonna be able to see. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy it or not. I don't know. I hope I will. Again, everything I've read by Stephanie Meyer I've enjoyed, so I feel like I will, but we'll see. So I just read chapter 2 real quick. It was longer than chapter 1, but it felt shorter. Anyway, it's so funny being in Edward's head because you hear other people's thoughts, or you hear people's snide remarks under their breaths. What's his name, Mr. Banner made a little snide remark while they were in the classroom doing the microscope section, and I just laughed. I just thought it was funny. It's just we're gonna be picking up on a lot of little things that just you don't normally pick up on, so it's just gonna be a lot funnier. Okay, I'm not gonna update after every chapter, but 3 chapters in and it's a freaking 13-year-old wrote this. It's it feels like she hasn't written another, I don't know how many books she has out, but 6 or 7 books. It's been a long time since I read Twilight, so I don't remember if Twilight was also written like this, but it sounds juvenile. While I'm reading it, it just doesn't sound I don't know, it just sounds like a freaking 13-year-old wrote it. That's all I could say. Did I lie when I said I'm not gonna update every chapter? I'm not even done with this chapter, but oh my god, it is so funny. I'm dying. First of all, it's irritating because we're going through Edward is reading Alice's visions, And they're like talking about it, but they're not saying what the vision is. So the entire time you're sitting there like, you're like Carlisle, Emmett, or Rose, like any of the ones that can't read. You're like, what the hell is going on? But oh my god, Emmett is so funny. This kid is laughing at the situation and I'm laughing at the situation, so we're both just having a good time. But oh, it's so much fun to read this from their perspective. I didn't realize how fun this would be. So I don't know why, but for some reason, the one clear scene that I have from Twilight is, it's different from how it is in the movie. In the movie, I already forgot what his name is. Mike goes and asks Bella out right before their field trip, but in the book, I thought it was Mike that asked her out in this scene, but maybe it's not. Basically, Edward blocks the parking lot in, and he basically creates a traffic line at the parking lot at school, and you know, Belle's in that line, and he does that to give the guy a chance to ask her out. And for some reason that is vividly in my head, and I thought it was Mike this entire time, but it's not Mike, so it's gonna be Tyler or Eric. I don't know which one, we'll see right now. But I'm so glad we're at that scene. I cannot wait to get Edward's side of that. It's just so much fun reading from Edward's side. I forgot about this scene. It hasn't started yet, but it's the blood type scene. I totally forgot that this was a scene. Oh my god. I literally don't remember what happened, but I remember that she's like, that the blood. Oh, I'm so excited. Hello, editing me from the future. I am such a dork in every single one of these clips, but you could see how this nostalgia really hit with this book. It's not even that great of a book, but it hit because Twilight is like forever ingrained. I would just like to point out real quick how one-dimensional all these characters are turning out to be. Like Rosalie's caring about the vanity. Is that like all she cares about? Like literally the only thing she cares about is her vanity, or the way that Emmett acts or stuff like that. Like everyone has like one way that they are, and like Stephanie Meyer isn't changing it at all. I'm just like, see, that's what stuff like that will make it seem more like a 13-year-old wrote this story. Like, there's no character development. There's nothing with this character development. Also, it technically wasn't instant love because Edward didn't fall for her right away after seeing her. But, like, once he read in Alice's mind that he is gonna end up loving her, he just knew that he loved her. Like, there was no reason for him to fall in love with her. It was just like, oh, I'm gonna end up loving her? Okay, I love her now. Like, it's just so weird having him say, oh, I love her and stuff, because I'm like, you literally didn't like her 5 minutes ago, but now that Alice's vision said you do, you have to like her. It's so, like, I feel like there wasn't enough thought put into all of that. Like, I feel like the story has, like, a lot of things that, like, more could have been put into it. It's just, oh, but I'm still so much fun reading it because it's Twilight, and it's like, it's such a nostalgic thing for me that I have to have fun reading it. Like, I can't help it. Are you sure this is what happened? I'm telling you. Okay, so we're on the chapter about the theory where she basically says, like, I know you're a vampire, which again is done very differently from the movie. But also, there are a couple vivid memories I have from reading Twilight. One of them was her complaining about how slow her internet is while she was looking up something about vampires. But I don't remember if like she actually ended up getting the Quilea's book from that like Port Angeles bookstore, because she was just in Port Angeles, so she hasn't had time to go home yet. Like, she's on her way back home, so it's not like she could have researched it. So maybe she did it before, but I'm like, you sure that's what I'm literally reading this book this entire time and going like, I really need to reread Twilight, 'cause what the hell is going on? It's a good thing. Goodreads has this as book number 5 in the series because you definitely would have had to read book 1 to read this one, because there's a lot in there that I'm like, are you sure? But then also it's partly because I've seen the movie 6,000 times and I've only read the books once, so like a lot of it is just what happened in the movie for me. But even like trying to remember the book, like 2 scenes that I remember, I'm sitting here like, really? You sure that's what happened? I mean, I'm sure that is what happened. I'm sure she opened up Twilight and just went scene by scene and went like that. But still, I'm literally just sitting here like, really? You sure? I don't think so. I'm questioning the book, even though I know it's accurate, but I'm over here questioning everything that happened in it. First, I like to say I couldn't go to sleep last night. Well, I stayed up until like 2 a.m. reading, and then I couldn't go to sleep, so at like 4:30, actually it was, I think, like closer to 3:45, I picked it back up. I was like, you know what, we're just gonna stay up reading, I guess. So we're over halfway through. Also, there's a lot of like background we're picking up on Edward, or like his time when he first transitioned or stuff like that. And honestly, I'm like sitting there reading it. It's pages too. It's like 10-12 pages each time, and I'm just like, I really don't care. Like, I do care, but also I don't care. Like, I just want to get to the like romance scenes, like the ones with Bella, even though it's like the entire book is juvenile, but I'm just like, that's the point of Twilight. It's to be, you know, Edward and Bella. So let's get some more Bella in there. But it's been fun. So Edward has just brought her home to meet his family, like literally just, and it's so insta-lovey. Literally this entire book, not just Edward and Bella, everybody is insta-lovey. It kind of made sense with like when Bella moved to town, how the guys liked her, because they're so used to, I think it's a town of like 3,000 people, so they're so used to the same like 100 girls, so that would make sense that they like someone new, especially if she's a little pretty, you know, that makes sense. But Alice knowing right away that she's gonna love her, I get it, she sees the future, so she knows that, but also it's kind of like, you've got to like let it grow. Or like Esme right now going, oh, I adore her. Like literally all they said is, good to meet you. That's it. How do you adore her already? Like it's everything is just so much like insta love, but not in a romantic, except for Edward obviously. Everything else is not in a romantic way, but like insta love. Like everyone instantly adores her, except for Rosalie. I actually like that Rosalie doesn't like her. I think that's funny. I don't like Rosalie's reason for not liking her. Like, I like it, but I feel like just her not, I feel like it would have been fun if you just didn't like her, but it's getting on my nerves a little bit, just a little bit. We are now coming to the climax of Twilight, Midnight Sun, whatever, they're the same story. We're about to hit the game. So that's like where it's really gonna start, and then it's the hunt, which is, I think that's more like, actually that's not the climax, that's leading to the climax of the story. The climax, I think, is their fight. This is Edward and James's fight. Yeah, I'd say that's the climax of the story. But we're leading to it, and I am such a journey person. Like, obviously you need to read the climax, like that's why you're taking the journey, but I care a lot more about the journey than the climax. So to me, I'm like, whatever, but it's just like less journey now because we're almost there. But yeah, so we just read where James is on the hunt, like they're just separating now into their different groups, and I'm actually like, I didn't realize this, but I'm so excited to see Edward's side of this, because in Twilight we see Bella go to the hotel, she gets the call, and then she ends up at like the dance studio. I don't actually remember if that's what it's like in the book, but in the movie she ends up at the dance studio. But I want to see Edward's perspective and how he found out where they're at, plus all the anxiety that he's gonna be feeling. Oh, it's gonna be so funny. Not funny, but like funny. But yeah, I have just over 100 pages left, which is gonna be James following them and then leaving them, and then Edward finding out, going to kill James. Ooh, I'm also excited to see when Edward is sucking the venom out of Bella, like to read his perspective on it, like the amount of control he's gonna have to not, actually kill her by drinking all her blood, because that's all he's wanted since the beginning of the book. But we are almost done. It is really good. It's a lot of fun, but it's not like a 5-star read. I think if I'd read this when I read the original quartet, I think I read it in 2015. My sister read it in, what was it, 2008, 2009. We both got the entire box set. I bought it for both of us. We were at Costco and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get it. So I bought each of us our own box set. And she ended up reading it. She was obsessed. I never finished reading it. So I finished reading in 2015, like January. So it's almost 6 years. So yeah, I think had I read it then, this would have probably been like a 5-star. But like now, it's gonna get like a higher rating because it's a lot of fun. And Twilight holds so much nostalgia for me. But it's not a 5-star. But it's fun. Okay, I understand the adrenaline rush Stephanie Meyer was trying to give with this chapter, with the race chapter. But basically, he finds out that she's not there, that she left. And they're at the airport and he's like, okay, it's a few miles from the airport to the dance studio. And of course they have to get a car because they can't like run because people will see. But that was the longest frickin' drive. He's going 180. Okay, there's no way at 180 it only takes a few miles will take that long. Like that was the longest drive at 180. No way, it's impossible that it would take that long. So it was obviously more than just a few miles away. But oh my god, the entire time I was reading it, I was like, you just said this was a few miles. We've been driving forever. It was just, I think I liked what she was trying to do with the chapter, and I think it would have been done, it would have been better had it not been so, I mean, it wasn't even a long chapter. It was like 15 pages comparatively to like the rest of the chapters in this book. It's not long, but that was too long to only be them driving. Like, it was straight 15 pages of them just driving. Like, we get it, okay? You could have left that at like 5 or 6 pages and then done the rest with something else. Like, we don't need to have 15 pages of them frickin' driving. Hello, just quick complaint here. We had 15 minutes of them fucking driving, but we had all of one paragraph of him attacking James. That was it. They didn't even fight. Oh my god. At least the movie, they had a fight scene. Oh my god. I said 15 minutes, I meant 15 pages, but still. I like that chapter. That chapter with him watching the video that James made for him, I had never even considered. Like, I completely forgot about the consequences of making that video, but having him watch it, that was a great idea. I'm really enjoying like this other side where you get all the background information that you saw in Twilight. It's so much fun, because like sometimes reading the guy's perspective, it just isn't that fun because you're getting the exact same story, you're not getting too much more out of it. But I think we're actually getting like a different kind of like story out of this one, you know? I'll have more clear thoughts of the entire book later, but I just finished and it was good, obviously, but that epilogue just, it felt flat. Like I didn't care for any part of that epilogue. I did not want to read it. I actually really liked how the last chapter ended, and I was like good with that. And then that epilogue was, how long was it? It was like 20 pages, and I was bored the entire time. So plus it was literally an entire 20 something pages of Edward going, forever, for now, I'll stay until I have to leave. Oh my god, it was so annoying. Like, shut up. It's also, I mean, it makes sense. But also, I hadn't realized that she had intended for Edward to have planned to leave for that long. I figured in New Moon he left because he didn't want his family hurting her anymore. But I guess he'd been planning it. I also don't think she's writing Edward's perspective of the other books, and I'm hoping she's not, because I mean, she can, I just won't read them. But like, I don't want to read them. But there are specific scenes that I'm like, I'd be curious to get Edward's perspective. So like, I like to see like specific scenes from Edward's perspective, but I don't want to read a full book, especially not New Moon or Eclipse. Honestly, I'll read Edward's perspective of Breaking Dawn. I'd be fine with that. To like get the wedding and the pregnancy, I'd be so fine with that. But New Moon, where he's gonna be gone the entire time, like they're not gonna be together, which was the one thing that I didn't like. Like, New Moon's my least favorite, and then it's Eclipse. And it's just because in Eclipse, when Bella kisses Jacob, I'm like, I'm not here for it, because it's so obviously not a love triangle. Like, she has no feelings for Jacob. So it just annoyed me when that happened. So I don't want to read Edward's perspective. Plus, you have to get Edward's perspective the entire time of being jealous of Jacob and of being able to read Jacob's mind. Like, nah, I'm not here for it. I don't want Edward's perspective of that. But Breaking Dawn, that would be fun. Of Twilight, it was actually a lot of fun. I'd say the first 2/3 of this was definitely a lot better than the last third. I felt like the last third was kind of rushed, and there were like scenes like when they were driving the race chapter, where it's kind of like, oh, okay, you don't need 15 pages of this. I'm real salty about that chapter. And then there were scenes where you literally didn't really get much. Like when he doesn't fight James at all. He's literally there for like 1 or 2 paragraphs with James. And then when they're like fixing up Bella, I guess, it's, I think, like 3 or 4 pages. It was like just a few pages of it. So the entire time they were in the car heading there is literally just describing zooming in and out, going the speed, stuff like that. It's way longer than the entire, I guess that's the climax, where like they fight off James and they're protecting Bella. That entire scene was a lot shorter. Their drive to the hospital, where Alice is seeing the future. So basically, it's like telling you what everyone else is gonna do, but like, since it's Edward's perspective, it's creative. Like, she had this like, Alice is seeing the future, so we can still see how they came up with the plan. That part was longer, I think. Like, everything just felt so much longer than the actual climax. The climax felt like it took like 3 or 4 pages and then it was done. And I was like, that's it? That's all you're gonna give? We haven't been leading up to it for that long, honestly, because it's only been like 2 chapters. But we've been leading up to this, which technically we've been leading up to that for the entire book, because the entire time Edward is like, oh, I'm gonna be the reason that you die, or I'm gonna be the reason that you get hurt, or whatever. So technically we are leading up to that, which is why it's the climax. But, and then for it to not get any time, I'm just, oh my god. So yeah, the last third was definitely disappointing. The epilogue was absolutely boring. Would not recommend reading it. But like, I can't not read it. If I didn't read it, I would feel like I'd never finished the book. But yeah, my nostalgia really hit. I watched Breaking Dawn Part 2 the other night. For no reason. I just decided that's the one I wanted to watch. I usually don't watch 2 and 3 because I'm just not here for it. Again, New Moon Eclipse, not here for it. I watched New Moon's last scene though because I enjoyed that. When she's in Italy. But yeah, I'll probably within the next day or two watch Twilight again, or maybe Breaking Dawn Part 1. I don't know. Hello, editing me again. I just realized I said I would give my thoughts on it later and I never did that. But basically the entire clip gave my thoughts on it. Basically the first 2/2 of the book, first 2/3 of the book were pretty good. Last third fell kind of flat. Editing this, I realized how many times I actually got frustrated during the book, but I still have really fun memories of it. So it's Twilight. I can't not give it a higher rating. I gave it a 4 stars because it's nowhere near a 5-star quality. But it was a lot of fun. Those were pretty much my thoughts. It was frustrating at times. Some things weren't as needed, and they were just, I feel like, put in there just to make it longer, which I don't understand why, because it's like a 600-page book, and there were some things that should have been put in that weren't put in. So it's just like, I think some things she just didn't really, I don't know, I feel like the equation for this book on what was needed to make it is just a little off. But it's Twilight, so it got the 4 out of 5 stars.